If you have time to do a grade, yes, you can go in and start using the adjustment layers, as I mentioned earlier, but what you really probably want to try and do is use SpeedGrade. One of the benefits of using SpeedGrade is being able to match clips. So if you've shot something that's supposed to be the same scene and you can see that the colouring is just completely different, you can go in and kind of fix that very quickly. I'll show you how this works. I've got my edit inside of Premiere Pro. I'm going to go to File and select Direct Link to Adobe SpeedGrade. Ignore that shortcut key. I've made that. It doesn't exist by default. When you select that, it will ask you to save the project before it sends the timeline over to SpeedGrade. It will launch SpeedGrade and open the timeline directly inside of SpeedGrade. I highly recommend, if you're going to use SpeedGrade, to shut down any other applications that you've got running. So I've got After Effects running right now. This is going to be taking up quite a bit of my RAM, and I just want to make sure that nothing that I have to have open is open, and I'm using all the resources I have with using SpeedGrade. Now this is a shot that we actually kind of like this shot. It's got a nice mood to it. This is trying to be emulating the same mood. For me to manually go in and match that, really tricky and kind of time consuming. Here's what I'm going to do. Using this user interface, I'm going to select this 2-up button, and that gives me 2 playheads. Now the way this works is my second playhead, which is showing me the image on the left, is going to be what is matched back to the clip on the right. So I need to move my playhead number 2 to what I want to match against. Playhead number 1, which I will now put over here, visually these are flipped around, but this is what's important to understand. That will be matched to this, and this will take on what's going on the left. This button here is the button that you want to use. You also want to make sure that the clip that's associated to it is selected, because when we hit that button, it will perform a plug-in action onto that clip. Now, see the arrow here? It's showing it's going to match what's on the left to send that look over to the clip on the right. Click this once. It may not have caught it. Click it again. Now you can see that that has actually matched the color tones as a really good starting point for this scene. It now feels like the same time of day and the same mood going on. Once you've done that, you can then send it straight back over to Premiere and continue working. I'll just show you how that works. Up in the top left, there is a button with the Premiere icon. Direct Link to Premiere Pro is what it's going to do. We'll save this inside of SpeedGrade and then launch Premiere. Now that's the shot that we fixed, that's the shot that we had, and now we can continue editing. If I select the clip and go to the effect controls, I can see I have this Lumetri effects plugin going on there. If I turn that off, you can see the original clip. So this becomes something that you can, if need be, save as a preset. So if you right click on here, save as a preset, you can call this evening mood, hit OK. When I look into my effects panel, it will be part of my presets. There's my effects mood. Now if I wanted to add that to this clip, then I've already got the look, and I can drag it and drop it and put it on that way as well. If I wanted to add it to the adjustment layer and then I don't need it on this one, well, I can go about doing that too. Drag and drop onto the adjustment layer. This I will then turn off the Lumetri look. This has now got, well, the effect twice, so I can either cut this out, or given that I've actually gone and kind of messed around with the curves to make that actually look that way. I'll turn off the curves. And now there's a similar look going on across all of the shots there. And just show you the user interface of SpeedGrade. It's not that frightening. So with the adjustment layer selected, because let's say we've gone and already matched these shots out the way that we know we want them, and that neutrality is there. We're now just trying to set the tone for the scene, and we're using the adjustment layer that we made inside of Premiere Pro. When you select the adjustment layer and you're on the clip itself, now let's have a look. Oh, right. I can see that at that point on the clip itself, I've turned off the effects for the Lumetri engine. And so clicking on the effects button here, I've turned it back on, which means that when I go into the primary, I can bring up these wheels. The auto color match is the effect that is used to get that match that we had on the shots. And I'm actually going to treat this a little bit more. So I'll go into the primary layer and just use these wheels. Different areas of where you can go, I'd probably just recommend that you stay inside the overall for now. Now this one I'm going to lift the brightness of the gamma, and then I'm just going to make it darker there, and I might even just bring down the lights to make it feel like there's kind of, it's a bit darker. The other thing I'm going to do is change the saturation level and bring that down. And then just to make it feel a little bit more night-like, I'm going to go into the temperature field and pull that into the blues. And then now I've got a very nice nighttime feel. If I really want to kind of just tweak that gamma, I just want to make sure I've got enough detail in there, but I do want it to feel like it's kind of moving into evening. So this is the brightness level, and then these obviously are going to be where you're changing the color tones that are being used in there. To reset these, you've got these little buttons here that you click on. So that resets the color, and then this resets the brightness level within that mid-range. You can see here we've got contrast and we've got this pivot as well, but the temperature gauge is one that I think is really, really interesting. If I click on that button there, it will reset that, and I could make this warmer. So now it feels a bit more like a sunset, just by tinkering with the temperature gauge, as opposed to trying to push the colours in the wheel, which is not a very accurate way of doing it. So we'll give that a nice blue feel, and I might just drop the contrast and maybe pull the blacks down. Not too much though. And bring the whites down. Because that's on the adjustment layer, that's going to go across all of the shots that I have. And now this feels like an evening or night scene. Again, I just go back to Premiere and it loads that edit straight back up into Premiere. And then I can keep working. And that's a very quick look at how you might want to start using something like SpeedGrade to do the grade without having to actually export out an XML, put it into a different program, reconnect your stuff, and then bring it back again and then make sure that it edits out and spits out correctly. This is a very quick way of being able to do this while your brain is not always switched on into editing mode. You need to refresh it by doing something a bit different, such as starting to do the grade. Then come back and you can continue editing inside of Premiere.